So, you're wondering how to take control of your emergency preparedness, right? You've heard of the 72-hour prep challenge, but maybe you're thinking, I don't have the space for all that gear and equipment. Well, here's the thing. Having a solid 72-hour prep plan in place can literally be the difference between life and death in an emergency situation. And the best part is, you don't need a huge house or a backyard to make it happen. In fact, with a little creativity and some smart planning, you can set up a complete 72-hour prep system in as little as 200 square feet. Now you might be thinking, but how is that even possible? Don't I need a bunch of room for all my emergency supplies and equipment? The truth is, most people think that way, and it's a common misconception that holds them back from getting started. Just imagine being able to weather any storm, whether it's a natural disaster or a personal crisis, with confidence and peace of mind. That's what we're going to show you how to do. So let's get started. Look for areas where you can use vertical organization strategies, like installing shelves or storage units that go up to the ceiling. And don't forget about underbed storage systems, which can be a great way to stash emergency supplies and equipment out of the way. For example, let's say you have a small studio apartment with a bed, a desk, and a chair. You might think, where am I going to put all my emergency gear? But what if you could use the space under your bed to store a portable water filtration system, a first aid kit, and a few days' worth of non-perishable food? That's exactly what we're going to show you how to do. Now you might be wondering, what about all the other stuff I need to store? Like flashlights, batteries, and warm clothing? Well, here's the thing. It's all about prioritizing and categorizing your emergency supplies. You need to think about what you'll need in the first 72 hours after a disaster and what you can safely store away for later. Let's take a closer look at some real-world examples of space-saving solutions that can help you get started. For instance, have you ever considered using a pegboard on the back of a door to hang emergency supplies like flashlights, radios, and extra batteries? Or what about using a storage cube system to keep your emergency gear organized and out of the way? These are just a few ideas to get you started, and we'll be exploring many more throughout this video. But here's the thing. It's not just about the gear and equipment. That's why we're going to walk you through a step-by-step process for setting up your 72-hour prep system, from assessing your risks and vulnerabilities to creating a customized emergency plan that works for you. So, are you ready to take control of your emergency preparedness and start building a 72-hour prep system that will keep you safe and secure no matter what? Let's dive in and explore some of the most effective strategies and solutions for maximizing your space and minimizing your risk. You'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish, even in the smallest of spaces. As you start to think about your own emergency preparedness plan, you might be wondering, what are some common mistakes that people make when it comes to 72-hour prep? Well, one of the biggest mistakes is not having a clear plan in place, or not practicing and updating your plan regularly. But don't worry, we've got you covered. We'll be sharing some expert tips and advice on how to avoid these common mistakes and create a robust and effective emergency preparedness plan that works for you. Now, let's talk about some of the key components of a 72-hour prep system and how you can incorporate them into your small space. First, you'll need to think about food and water. One solution is to use a portable water filtration system, which can be stored under your bed or in a closet. Another solution is to use a small portable stove or cooking system, which can be fueled by propane or other fuels. You'll also need to think about first aid and medical supplies. What kind of injuries or illnesses might you need to treat? And what kind of supplies will you need to have on hand? Another solution is to create your own custom first aid kit, using supplies that you already have on hand. One solution is to use flashlights or lanterns, which can be powered by batteries or other fuels. Another solution is to use candles or other flame-based lighting sources, which can be fueled by wax or other materials. You'll also need to think about communication. How will you stay in touch with family and friends if the power goes out or the phone lines are down? One solution is to use a two-way radio or walkie-talkie, which can be powered by batteries or other fuels. Another solution is to use a satellite phone or other device, which can be used to send and receive messages in emergency situations. Now, let's talk about some of the most effective strategies for maximizing your space and minimizing your risk. This can help you to make the most of your space and to keep your emergency supplies and equipment organized and out of the way. Another strategy is to use furniture with hidden compartments, such as a storage ottoman or a coffee table with a lift top. As you start to think about your own 72-hour prep system, you might be wondering, what are some other strategies that I can use to maximize my space and minimize my risk? For example, you might have a food zone where you store your emergency food supplies, a water zone where you store your emergency water supplies, and a first aid zone where you store your emergency medical supplies. Another strategy is to use a layered approach, where you have multiple layers of emergency supplies and equipment, each with its own specific purpose or function. And you might also have a tertiary layer of emergency supplies, such as warm clothing and blankets, which can be used in case of an extended emergency. So stay tuned and let's keep going. We've got a lot more to cover, and we're just getting started. You're probably starting to get a sense of just how much is involved in creating a 72-hour prep system and how important it is to have a clear plan in place. But don't worry, we're going to break it down into manageable chunks and provide you with the tools and resources you need to get started. And we'll be sharing some expert tips and advice on how to avoid common mistakes and create a robust and effective emergency preparedness plan that works for you. Well, one of the most important things is to think about your specific risks and vulnerabilities, and to create a plan that takes those into account. For example, if you live in an area that is prone to earthquakes, you'll want to make sure that your plan includes strategies for dealing with earthquake-related emergencies, such as having a plan for evacuating your home and having a safe place to go. Another important thing to consider is to think about your own personal needs and limitations, and to create a plan that takes those into account. For example, if you have a medical condition, you'll want to make sure that your plan includes strategies for dealing with medical emergencies, such as having a supply of medication and having a plan for getting medical help if you need it. As we continue to explore the world of 72-hour prep, you'll start to see how all of these different components and strategies fit together to create a comprehensive and effective emergency preparedness plan. So stay tuned and let's keep going. Now, let's talk about some of the most effective ways to store your emergency supplies and equipment, and how you can keep them organized and easy to access. One of the most important things is to use a system of labels and signs, so that you can easily identify what you have and where it is. Another important thing is to use a system of storage containers and bins, so that you can keep your emergency supplies and equipment organized and out of the way. As you start to think about your own emergency preparedness plan, you might be wondering, what are some of the most important things that I need to store, and how can I keep them organized and easy to access? Well, one of the most important things is to store food and water and to have a plan for preparing and cooking meals. Another important thing is to store first aid supplies and equipment, and to have a plan for treating injuries and illnesses. You'll also want to store communication devices, such as radios and phones, and to have a plan for staying in touch with family and friends. And you'll want to store warm clothing and blankets, and to have a plan for staying warm and comfortable in case of an extended emergency. As we continue to explore the world of 72-hour prep, you'll start to see how all of these different components and strategies fit together to create a comprehensive and effective emergency preparedness plan. And you'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish, even in the smallest of spaces. So stay tuned and let's keep going. We've got a lot more to cover, and we're just getting started. Now let's talk about some of the most effective ways to practice and update your emergency preparedness plan, and how you can make sure that you're always ready for whatever comes your way. Well, one of the most important things is to practice your communication plan, so that you can make sure that you can stay in touch with family and friends in case of an emergency. Another important thing is to practice your first aid skills, so that you can make sure that you can treat injuries and illnesses effectively. You'll also want to practice your food and water preparation skills, so that you can make sure that you can prepare and cook meals safely and effectively. And you'll want to practice your shelter and warmth skills, so that you can make sure that you can stay warm and comfortable in case of an extended emergency. And you'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish, even in the smallest of spaces. So stay tuned and let's keep going. You're probably starting to get a sense of just how important it is to have a clear plan in place and to be prepared for whatever comes your way. And you're probably starting to see how all of these different components and strategies fit together to create a comprehensive and effective emergency preparedness plan. But we're not done yet. We've still got a lot more to cover, and we're just getting started. So stay tuned and let's keep going. So you're ready to take your 72-hour prep to the next level, but you're stuck with a tiny apartment. Well, here's the thing. It's not about the size of your space, it's about how you use it. You'd be amazed at how much you can store in a small apartment with the right strategies. Let's talk about vertical organization, for instance. This is a game changer for urban preppers. By using wall-mounted shelves, hooks, and storage units, you can keep your floors and surfaces clear while still having access to all your essential supplies. Imagine walking into your apartment and seeing a sleek, organized space that's ready for anything. Your emergency kit is stored in a convenient spot, and you've got easy access to food, water, and first aid supplies. You've even got a hidden compartment or two for sensitive items like important documents or valuables. It's not just about looks, though. This kind of organization can be a lifesaver in an emergency. When every minute counts, you don't want to be wasting time searching for what you need. You want to be able to grab your gear and go. Now let's talk about some real-world examples of space-saving solutions. Have you ever considered using furniture with hidden compartments? These can be a great way to stash supplies without taking up extra space. And underbed storage systems are another fantastic option. You can use bed risers or storage bins to keep items like blankets, clothing, or even food and water supplies out of the way, but still easily accessible. But here's what most people don't know. You don't have to break the bank to get started with space-saving solutions. You can use everyday items as multifunctional storage containers. It's all about thinking outside the box and getting creative with the resources you have. You can also use items like old suitcases, crates, or boxes to store supplies. As you start to implement these strategies, you'll be amazed at how much more space you have. You don't have to overhaul your entire apartment in one day. Just start with one area, like your emergency kit or your food storage, and work your way up. Before you know it, you'll have a fully functional 72-hour prep system in place, even in the smallest of spaces. But what about the nitty-gritty details? How do you actually implement these space-saving strategies in your daily life? Let's talk about some actionable tips you can start using right away. What do you have and where can you store it? Make a list and prioritize your items based on importance and frequency of use. Then start looking for creative storage solutions. As you're implementing these strategies, remember that it's not just about the physical space, it's also about your mindset. You need to be prepared to think on your feet and adapt to changing circumstances. You don't want to be caught off guard when disaster strikes. By being proactive and prepared, you can stay safe and in control no matter what happens. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but what about the cost? Won't all these space-saving solutions break the bank? Not necessarily. While some of the furniture and storage systems can be pricey, there are plenty of DIY options and budget-friendly solutions out there. You can use items you already have at home, or scour thrift stores and garage sales for cheap storage containers. As you continue on your 72-hour prep journey, remember that it's okay to take it one step at a time. Don't try to do everything at once. Just focus on making progress and celebrate your small wins along the way. And don't be afraid to ask for help or advice from more experienced preppers. There are plenty of online communities and forums where you can connect with like-minded individuals and learn from their experiences. So, what's the next step for you? Are you ready to start implementing some of these space-saving strategies in your own apartment? Look for areas where you can use vertical organization or where you can add some hidden compartments or underbed storage. With a little creativity and resourcefulness, you can create a 72-hour prep system that's tailored to your unique needs and space constraints. And that's a pretty empowering feeling, isn't it? You're thinking, where do I even start? Well, here's the thing. It's all about prioritizing the essentials. You need to focus on the must-haves, the can't-live-withouts, and the will keep you alive for 72 hours items. Let's break it down into digestible numbered points, shall we? Now, we're not talking about stockpiling enough non-perishables to last you a year. We're talking about the bare minimum to get you through 72 hours. For example, you can opt for a water filtration system that takes up minimal space, like a Life Straw or a Sawyer Mini. And for food, consider compact, high-calorie options like energy bars, nuts, or dried fruits. But here's what most people don't know. The key to efficient food and water storage is to use vertical space. You can install shelves, hooks, or even a pegboard on your walls to maximize your storage capacity. For instance, you can use a foldable shelf to store your food supplies and then fold it up when you're not using it. Or you can use a stackable water container system that takes up minimal floor space. Second, you've got your first aid kit. Now this is where most people go wrong. They either overdo it with a massive medical kit that's more suited to a hospital, or they underdo it with a few band-aids and some antiseptic wipes. But what if you could have a tiered system, where you've got a basic first aid kit for minor scrapes and cuts, and then a more advanced medical kit for serious injuries? This is what we call layering your prep supplies. You've got your basic layer, your intermediate layer, and your advanced layer. For example, your basic first aid kit could include items like bandages, antiseptic wipes, pain relievers, and any prescription medications you might need. Your intermediate layer could include items like a tourniquet, a splint, and some basic surgical tools. And your advanced layer could include items like a defibrillator, an oxygen tank, or even a portable hospital bed. The idea is to have a system in place that allows you to escalate your care as needed, without having to break out the big guns right from the start. Third, you've got your communication systems. Now, this is where most people overlook the importance of having a reliable means of communication. You need to be able to stay in touch with loved ones, receive critical updates, and call for help if needed. Consider investing in a two-way radio, a satellite phone, or even a ham radio. You need to designate a meeting point, a contact person, and a communication protocol in case you get separated. You can even use a messaging app or a social media platform to stay in touch with your loved ones. Now, let's talk about some real-world examples of how to implement these systems in your 200 square feet of space. For instance, you can use underbed storage systems to store your food and water supplies, keeping them out of the way but still easily accessible. You can use furniture with hidden compartments, like a coffee table with a secret storage compartment, to store your first aid kit and other essential items. And you can use vertical organization strategies, like a pegboard or a shelving unit, to maximize your storage capacity and keep your space clutter-free. But here's what's even more interesting. You can also use your space to create a prep station where you can store all your essential items in one place. This could be a designated area, like a closet or a corner of your room, where you keep all your prep supplies organized and within easy reach. You can use bins, baskets, and other storage containers to keep your supplies categorized and labeled, making it easy to find what you need in an emergency. As you start building your 72-hour prep plan, you'll realize that it's not just about the gear and the supplies, it's about creating a system that works for you and your unique situation. You'll need to consider your personal needs, your lifestyle, and your preferences when. So, you've got your 72-hour prep checklist in hand, and you're ready to start hacking your apartment for maximum prep potential. You're thinking, how can I turn my tiny space into a prep powerhouse? Well, here's the thing. It's all about thinking outside the box and repurposing everyday items for prep use. Let's take a bike helmet, for example. You might be thinking, what does a bike helmet have to do with prep? But what if I told you that it could be used as a makeshift bucket? You can do this by installing shelves, using stackable containers, or even investing in a storage bed frame. These types of solutions will help you keep your prep supplies organized and out of the way, while also keeping your floor clear for other activities. But what about creating a dedicated prep station in your small apartment? You can turn a corner of your kitchen into a food preparation and water filtration area, or even use a closet as a makeshift command center. The key is to identify a specific area of your apartment that can be dedicated to prep activities and then customize it to fit your needs. For example, you can use a foldable table to create a makeshift work surface or install a pegboard to hang your tools and equipment. Let's take a look at a real-world example. Imagine you have a studio apartment with a small kitchen. By creating a dedicated prep station, you'll be able to quickly and easily access the supplies you need in an emergency situation. You'll start to see your apartment in a whole new light, as a place where you can prepare for the unexpected and stay safe in the face of disaster. But here's what most people don't know. The key to successful prep is not just about having the right gear, but also about having the right mindset. It's about being able to think on your feet and come up with creative solutions to unexpected problems. So take a closer look at your apartment and start thinking about how you can repurpose everyday items, use vertical space, and create a dedicated prep station. Share your ideas in the comments below and let's keep the conversation going. As you start to hack your apartment, you'll begin to realize that the possibilities are endless and that with a little creativity, you can turn even the smallest space into a prep powerhouse. But what's the next step? That's what we'll be exploring in the next section. So, you've got your 72-hour prep checklist, and you've started hacking your apartment for maximum prep potential. Now, it's time to put it all together and create a comprehensive action plan. You're thinking, how can I take all these individual pieces and turn them into a cohesive system that will keep me safe and prepared for 72 hours? Let's start by thinking about your space as a whole. Consider using vertical organization strategies to maximize your storage space. But here's what most people don't know. Maintenance is key. You can't just set up your prep system and forget about it. You need to regularly check and update your supplies to make sure they're still usable and relevant. This means checking expiration dates, testing equipment, and making sure you have enough food and water to last for 72 hours. So how can you make maintenance easier and less overwhelming? One strategy is to create a schedule and stick to it. Set aside one day a month to check your prep supplies and make any necessary updates. Now, let's talk about some real-world examples of how this can work in practice. For instance, you can use underbed storage systems to keep your prep supplies out of the way, but still easily accessible. You can also use furniture with hidden compartments to store valuable items like important documents, cash, and jewelry. As you're setting up your 72-hour prep system, remember that it's not just about the supplies you have, but also about the skills you possess. Consider taking a first aid course or learning how to purify water to increase your chances of survival. But here's the thing, we want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite space-saving solutions for 72-hour prep? Do you have any tips or tricks for maintaining your prep supplies? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a conversation. And if you're looking for more information and resources on 72-hour prep, be sure to check out our next video, where we'll be diving deeper into the world of emergency preparedness. You'll learn about the latest trends and technologies and get expert advice on how to stay safe and prepared in any situation. So stay tuned and let's keep the conversation going. As you're finishing up your 72-hour prep setup, take a step back and think about how far you've come. You've gone from having no idea where to start to having a comprehensive action plan in place. And that's something to be proud of. You're one step closer to being prepared for anything that comes your way. So what?